What's up everyone, Jay here from Tap and Turn Gaming, coming at you today with one of our Clash of Kings EDH deck techs. Today's deck, as you can tell, is for Tymaret, the Murderr King's deck for our Clash of Kings battle that will be soon upcoming to our channel. So, for any of you that saw my Tymaret, the Murderr King deck tech a while back, you'll see a lot of familiar cards if you've seen that deck tech. The deck has gone through a few alterations for the Clash of Kings battle, but nothing too crazy. But just additions that would make it better suited in a multiplayer environment. Well, let's kick it off here and take a look at the general. Tymaret, the Murderr King, is a 2-cost 2/2 legendary zombie warrior with two pretty cool abilities. His first is you can pay 1 in a red and sack a guy, and he deals 2 damage to target player. Then you can pay 1 in a black and sack a guy to return him from your graveyard to your hand. So he's pretty cool. I like him a lot. He's a pretty cheap general at 2, so he comes out early. And the focus of the deck is to really, get creatures out on the board that either generate tokens or do something when they die, or other creatures that can, recur themselves, so we can keep reusing them on Tymaret to, keep flinging 2 damage at our opponent's face. So that's more or less what Tymaret does. First up, we will take a look at the land base for this deck. Pretty basic, seeing as it's just a 2-color deck. So we run a Rakdos Guildgate, a Rakdos Carnarium, Dragon Skull Summit, Blackcleave Cliffs, Lava Claw Reaches, Molten Slag Heap, Akoum Refuge, Bojuka Bog, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Evolving Wilds, and then the rest is just basic. So we run, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 swamps. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 mountains. So that's the mana base. Nothing too crazy. There probably are some other dual lands that I could, play in the deck, like, probably like a Blood Crypt or, things like that. Maybe one of the new Tango lands, the Smoldering Marsh from Battle for Zendikar. But, the deck really doesn't need too crazy of a mana base, seeing as it's just 2 colors, and most of the time I don't really have a problem getting those colors that I need. Next up, we'll take a look at the artifacts and enchantments that we run. First, we'll look at the artifacts. First up, we have Gauntlet of Power to pump our creatures of the color that we choose and double the mana of the color that we choose. So that's Gauntlet of Power. Then we have Illusionist Bracers. It will copy an activated ability of a creature that this is equipped to automatically without any investment other than just this being attached to the creature. So it's really good to have on Tymaret if you start using his Sack a Guy to deal 2 damage to a player. So this, if this is equipped to him, that will copy that, and you'll essentially be dealing 4 damage. Here we have Mimic Vat. You can imprint a creature card onto this when that creature would go to the graveyard, and as long as there's a creature imprinted on it, you can pay 3 and tap this to get a token of that imprinted creature onto the board. It has haste, and then you exile it at the beginning of the next end step. So, if one of our opponent's creatures dies that we really would like to have on our side of the board, we can imprint it on our Mimic Vat and get tokens of it every turn, or maybe one of our creatures that brings tokens or whatever. Here's Death Render. 4-cost equipment gives the equipped creature +2/+2, and whenever the equipped creature dies, we may put a creature card from our hand into play and attach Death Render to it. So that's pretty cool. Tymaret will allow us to sacrifice our creatures, so if we equip that to a creature, and then sacrifice that equipped creature to Tymaret to deal damage, and then we can shoot a creature from our hand into play and automatically attach that to it. Here's Worn Power Stone, just a mana rock, comes into play tapped, and it taps for 2 colorless. Sol Ring, everybody knows and loves that card, don't need to explain that. And Skull Clamp is really nice. We do generate quite a few tokens in the deck, so you know, this will give the equipped creature +1/-1, and whenever the equipped creature dies, we can draw 2 cards. Even if the equipped creature doesn't die from the +1/-1, you know, we can sacrifice the equipped creature to Tymaret or one of our other free sack outlets that we have in the deck to trigger that and draw some cards. Next up, we have our enchantments that we run. First up is Vicious Shadows. It's a 7-cost red enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, I may have this deal damage to target player equal to the number of cards in that player's hand. EDH, you know, is a pretty creature-heavy environment. It's also a very wrath-heavy environment, especially in multiplayer. So if you have this down on the board, essentially every creature that dies is going to hurt somebody with this out on the board. So it kind of fits the theme of, you know, dealing damage to our opponent through, you know, effects other than just attacking them. Here's Attrition, one of my personal favorite enchantments in black for EDH. 3 cost, pay a black, sacrifice a creature to destroy target non-black creature. So a sack outlet that kills creatures is just really nice. Here's Braid of Fire, 2-cost red enchantment with cumulative upkeep of adding 1 red to our mana pool. So that's really nice, especially if we have Tymaret out on the board and we, you know, start generating, you know, boatloads of red mana with this, because his sacrifice a creature to deal 2 damage ability costs red. So, you know, on our upkeep, we can just dump all the mana that we get from this into Tymaret's ability to, you know, sack creatures and deal 2 damage. So it's pretty nice. Here's Goblin Bombardment, 2-cost red enchantment that's just a free sack outlet that will allow us to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So it's really nice. Free sack outlets are always nice. I love free sack outlets. Here's Curse of Bloodletting, 5-cost red aura that enchants a player, and all damage that would be dealt to that player is doubled, so that's pretty nice. Here's Dictate of Erebos, essentially Grave Pact with Flash. Blood Chief Ascension, a 1-cost black enchantment. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life, this gets a quest counter, and then as long as this has 3 or more quest counters on it, whenever a card goes to an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So pretty easy to get quest counters on that with Tymaret out. You know, sack a guy, deal 2 damage to somebody, end of turn, that's going to get a counter because they lost 2 or more life. So it's pretty easy to get counters on that. And once it gets primed, your opponents have to deal with that. If they don't deal with that card, it's going to drain everybody out at the table, and you're just going to gain lots of life. Here's Phyrexian Arena. Everybody knows and loves this card. 3-cost black enchantment. Lets you draw an additional card on your upkeep, and you lose a life. So, you know, nice card draw there. And Oversold Cemetery for some creature recursion. 2-cost black enchantment. As long as you have 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard, on your upkeep, you can bring a creature out of your graveyard back to your hand. Okay, so those were our artifacts and enchantments. Next we'll take a look at our instants and sorceries. The one instant that we have in the deck is Hero's Downfall. Just destroys a creature or a planeswalker, so some spot removal there for us. That's a new addition to the deck. Ruinous Path is also a new addition, because this just came out in Battle for Zendikar, so it's essentially Hero's Downfall, just at sorcery speed, but it does have the Awaken ability if you want to pay it for 7 mana to get that effect and animate one of your lands into a 4/4 creature. I probably will never do that. It's just there as another kind of spot removal card. Diabolic Tutor lets you tutor up a card. Same here with Increasing Ambition. Costs 1 more mana, but you can flash it back for 8, and then if you flash it back, you tutor for 2 cards. And the rest here are just sweepers. Black Sun Zenith lets us put X -1/-1 counters on each creature, and then this gets shuffled into our deck. And Garruk's Wake is basically a Plague Wind that also destroys all Planeswalkers we don't control. And Chain Reaction will deal X damage to each creature, where X is the number of creatures on the board. So those are the instants and sorceries that we run in the deck. We'll take a look next at the one Planeswalker that we run, which is Liliana of the Dark Realms. She costs 4, 2 and 2 black. She comes in with 3 loyalty. You can +1 to search for a swamp, reveal it and put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. Or -3 to give target creature +X/+X or -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of swamps you control. And then -6, you get an emblem with swamps you control have tapped to add 4 black to your mana pool. So that's really nice. I felt like, you know, she was pretty well suited in the deck, even though it is a 2-color deck. We do run an Urborg in the land base, so you know we can make all of our land swamps and then make it so that those you know, that middle ability at least will, you know, do more damage. You know, the +X/+X or -X/-X. Plus, you know, the you know, +1 just lets you hit your land drops every turn, and then being able to tap your swamps for 4 black is no joke either. Alright, and lastly, we'll take a look at our creature base. First up, we have Bloodsoaked Champion, a 1-cost 2/1 that can't block, but we can reanimate him out of our graveyard by paying 1 and a black if we raid, essentially. So basically what that is if we attacked with a creature during our turn, we can pay 1 and a black to get him out of our graveyard straight onto the board. So, you know, we can attack with this guy, you know, just to trigger that raid, and then we can sacrifice him to Tymaret to deal damage, and then on our second main phase we can pay 1 and a black to bring him back to the board because we attacked with a creature. Here's Gravecrawler, a 1-cost 2/1 that can't block as well, and we can cast him from our graveyard as long as we control a zombie. Well, Tymaret himself is a zombie. We do run some other zombies in the deck, so relatively easy to keep abusing him. You know, pay him for 1 black, sack him to Tymaret to deal damage, cast him from the graveyard, do it again and again and again. Here's Nether Trader, a 2-cost 1/1 with haste and shadow, and whenever another creature is put into a graveyard from play, you may pay 1 black. If you do, return this guy from your graveyard to play. So he's pretty cool. You know, we can continuously, you know, sack him to Tymaret and then resurrect him out of the graveyard for 1 black if another creature died. So it's pretty easy to meet that stipulation and keep bringing him back out of the graveyard and sacrificing him to deal damage to somebody. Here's Reassembling Skeleton, 2-cost 1/1 that you can pay 1 and a black to return him from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So, you know, just another creature that we can abuse that ability on Tymaret, play him, sack him, bring him out of the graveyard, sack him again, bring him out of the graveyard. You can see the synergy with that. Here's Blood Artist, a 2-cost 0/1. Whenever he or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So that's pretty nice. Lots of creatures are going to die with this deck, so we can drain and gain with that guy. Here's Cemetery Reaper, 3-cost 2/2 that pumps all your other zombies +1/+1, and you can pay 2 and a black and tap them and exile a creature card from someone's yard to get a 2/2 zombie. So he generates tokens that we can use as fodder for Tymaret. Jarolf's Messenger, 3-cost 3/2 with Undying, and he enters the battlefield tapped, and when he enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life. So we play him. He's going to drain somebody for 2. We can sack him to Tymaret to deal 2 damage. Then he has Undying, so he's going to come back, and then he's going to, you know, drain someone again for 2, and then we sack him again. So just off of this 1 card, we can deal 8 damage 2 off of him coming in, 2 off of sacking him, 2 off of him returning immediately to the board, and then 2 more for sacking him again. Granted that we have the mana to do it. So he's pretty nice in the deck. Pawn of Ulamog gets us a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn token when he or another non-token creature we control dies. So just a token generator there mostly for us. Here's Grim Harrispex. A 3-cost 3/2 with morph for 1 black. We generally won't morph him, but whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. So he's just some card draw for us. Here's Lazolda the Blood Witch. 3-cost 3/1, where you can pay 2 and sacrifice a guy, and she will deal 2 damage to target creature or player if the sacrificed creature was red, and you draw a card if the sacrificed creature was black. So if the creature is both red and black, you'll shock and draw a card. So that's pretty nice. Here's a Krenko Mob Boss, 4-cost 3/3. Tap him, put X/1/1 red goblin creature tokens on the board, where X is the number of goblins you control. We do have a few other goblins in the deck, but he's mostly there to just, generate us tokens. I mean, he can generate us tokens just off of himself being on the board. So, you'll get exponentially more and more goblins with him out on the board as long as he doesn't get removed. Here's another goblin, Beetleback Chief, 4-cost 2/2 that just brings 2 1/1s with him when he comes in, so just a token generator for us. Here's Graveborn Muse, 4-cost 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of zombies you control. It may seem kind of like an ability that can backfire on you, which it can, but we don't have a huge amount of zombies in the deck. So, if you have her and Tymaret out on the board just by themselves, and they're your only 2 zombies, she'll draw you 2 cards and you'll lose 2 life each turn. But, drawing that 2 cards is, probably going to benefit you a lot more than, having to worry about losing the 2 life. Plus, if it starts to get too painful, we can just sacrifice her away to Tymaret or something else. Here's Bloodline Keeper, a 4-cost 3/3 flyer that taps to get a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying on the board. And then we can pay a black and transform him, activate this ability only if we control 5 or more vampires. Take him out of the sleeve real quick so you can see the transformation side. Then he becomes Lord of Lineage. He's a 5/5 flyer. Other vampires you control get +2/+2, and he will still tap to get you a 2/2 vampire with flying. He's more or less there just to generate us tokens to sacrifice to Tymaret. Here's Perforos, God of the Forge. 4-cost 6/5 indestructible god. He's not a guy unless if your devotion to red is less than 5. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, he shocks each opponent. So that's really nice. And you can pay 2 and a red to give your team fire breathing, so that's pretty cool. Here's Hell's Caretaker, basically just there for some creature resurrection for us. We can tap him and sacrifice a guy on our upkeep to get a creature out of our graveyard right back onto the board. Here's Hell Rider, a 3/3 with haste. Whenever a creature you control attacks, he deals 1 damage to defending player. So, just more ways to spit out damage at our opponents. Agent of Erebos is basically a Bojuka Bog on a 2/2 body, but whenever he or another enchantment enters the board, we can trigger that Bojuka Bog-ish ability. Excuse me. Here's Bloodgift Demon, a 5/4 flyer that's basically a Phyrexian Arena on a body, so he's really nice. Siege Gang Commander brings us 3 1/1 red goblins when he comes in, and then we can pay 1 and a red and sacrifice a goblin to shock a creature or player, so that's nice. Here's a Phyrexian Plague Lord, a free sacrifice outlet, so we can sacrifice a creature to give target creature -1/-1, or we can tap him and sacrifice himself to give a creature -4/-4. Here's Emrakul's Hatcher, 5-cost 3/3. When he comes in, put 3 0/1 Eldrazi spawn creature tokens onto the board. We can sacrifice those to get colorless mana to our mana pool, but he's just there to generate us tokens to sacrifice to Tymaret. Zealous Conscripts is really nice, a 5-cost 3/3 with haste. When it comes in, you gain control of target permanent until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste. So, you know, what's really cool about this creature is that you can gain control of target permanent, so anything that your opponent has on the board. Here's Ogre Slumlord. Whenever another non-token creature dies, we get a 1/1 black rat, and rats we control have Death Touch. Endrick Sar gets us X 1/1 black thrall creature tokens onto the board every time we play a creature spell, where X is the spell's mana cost, and then when we have 7 or more thralls, we have to sacrifice him away, but that's okay. He's just there to generate us tokens. Kakusho, everybody knows this guy. When he dies, he'll make each opponent lose 5, and you gain life equal to life lost this way. Deathbringer Thoctor, whenever another creature dies, we can put a +1/+1 counter on this, and then we can remove a counter from him to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Here's Rage Thrower. Whenever another creature dies, he will deal 2 damage to target player, so that's really nice. Wormcoil Engine, everybody knows what this does. 6/6 with Death Touch and Lifelink. When it dies, you get a 3/3 with Death Touch and a 3/3 with Lifelink. Ink Eyes Servant of Oni has ninjutsu, so you can sneak it in whenever one of your creatures goes unblocked, and when she hits a player, you can resurrect a creature out of their graveyard on your side of the board, and you can regenerate her for 1 and a black, so she's really cool. Here's Scuttling Doom Engine, 6-cost 6/6 that can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and when he dies, it deals 6 damage to target opponent, so more damage spitting that we can do with that guy. Grave Titan, you know, a zombie token generating machine. When he comes in or attacks, you get 2/2 zombies. There's Malfeld Twins. When it dies, you get 2/2 black zombies on the board, so sacrifice him to Tymaret, deal 2 damage, and then get 2/2s to sacrifice to Tymaret as well. Stalking Vengeance is a 5/5 with haste for 7, and whenever another creature we control dies, it deals damage equal to its power to target player, so that's really nice. Sheoldred, 6/6 with Swamp Walk that gets a creature out of your graveyard onto the board on your upkeep, and on your opponent's upkeeps they have to sacrifice a guy. Chancellor of the Forge will get you a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the board with haste, where X is the number of creatures you control. You can also reveal him from your opening hand if he's in your opening hand, and then you get a 1/1 red goblin with haste. And then lastly, we have Overseer of the Damned, a 7-cost 5/5 flyer. When he comes in, destroy target creature, and then whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you get a 2/2 black zombie onto the board tapped. So that about wraps up the deck tech guys for Tymaret the Murderr King for our Clash of Kings battle that's upcoming to our channel. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Let us know if you haven't voted already who you think's going to win the Clash of Kings battle. Go back to our video where we announced the Clash of Kings and voice your opinion. And stay tuned to our channel for the deck techs for Brago King Eternal and King Makar the Gold Cursed. So, this has been Jay with Tap and Turn Gaming. Again, hope everybody enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll catch you later. Thanks a lot for watching.